Our daddy is sorry he's late. 3 little girls stood at Claire Matthews's table, identical faces looking up at her with swollen eyes. The blind date was supposed to be simple. Coffee, conversation, maybe a polite goodbye. Not this. Not 3 6-year-olds delivering an apology for a father she'd never met. Not the bruise on one small arm. Not the way they flinched when a phone started ringing. Not the crayon drawing they'd leave behind. 4 stick figures holding hands, labeled Our Family. And definitely not the moment she'd find herself running after them in a parking lot, offering to fight a custody battle for strangers. But that's exactly what happened. The question was, why? The coffee shop was half empty when Claire arrived. She chose the corner table by the window. Late afternoon. Light stretched across the wooden surface. Her phone said 4:30. The blind date was scheduled for 4. She ordered black coffee. Waited. Her best friend Sarah had arranged this. He's a good man, Sarah had said. Single dad. Works hard. You'll like him. Claire was 35, an architect. She had just finished the biggest project of her career, a social housing development downtown, 18 months of work. She should have been celebrating. Instead, she was here, waiting for a stranger. 4:45. No one came. She checked her phone. No messages. She typed out a text to Sarah, then deleted it. The coffee had gone cold. Around her, other customers talked and laughed. Couples. Friends. People who belonged to someone. Claire knew that feeling. She had lost it 3 years ago. Her ex-boyfriend had left because she couldn't have children. A medical condition. Irreversible. The doctors said. He had been kind about it at first, then distant, then gone. You deserve someone who can give you a family, he had said, as if family was something you manufactured, as if love had prerequisites. She picked up her bag. 5 o'clock now. Clearly this was a mistake. She should go home, call Sarah, tell her thanks, but no thanks. The door swung open. 3 little girls ran in. They were identical. Triplets, maybe 6 years old. Their clothes were rumpled, not quite dirty but worn thin at the edges. Their hair hung loose and uncombed. One of them had a bruise on her left forearm, faint purple against pale skin. They stopped in front of Claire's table. The tallest one stepped forward. Her eyes were swollen, like she had been crying recently. "Miss," she said. Her voice was small but careful. "Our daddy is sorry he's late." Claire blinked. "I'm sorry?" The second girl spoke up. "He's parking the car. He told us to come tell you." The third one just stared at Claire. Her hands were shaking. Claire looked past them toward the door. No one else entered. "Your daddy sent you in here? Alone?" The first girl nodded. "He said to apologize. He said you were waiting." Something cold settled in Claire's chest. This wasn't normal. Children this young shouldn't be sent ahead like messengers. And the way they stood, tense, alert, like soldiers awaiting orders. "What are your names?" Claire asked. "I'm Lily," said the tallest. "I'm Rose," said the second. "I'm Grace," whispered the third. Before Claire could respond, the door opened again. A man walked in. He was tall, late 30s, dark hair that needed cutting. His shirt was wrinkled. Sleeves rolled to his elbows. His face carried exhaustion, not the kind that came from a long day, but the kind that lived in your bones. He saw the girls and stopped. "Lily," he said quietly, "I told you to wait outside." "We wanted to say sorry," Lily said. The man crossed the room. His steps were slow, deliberate. When he reached the table, he crouched down to the girls' level first, checking each of them with his eyes. A brief scan. Then he stood and looked at Claire. "I'm Nathan Cross," he said. "I'm really sorry I'm late." His voice was low, apologetic, but his eyes kept flicking back to the girls. Claire didn't know what to say. Nathan pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. The girls immediately moved to his side. They didn't sit. They just stood there, close enough to touch him. "I know this is strange," Nathan said. "My lawyer said I should try to—" He stopped himself, looked at the girls, looked back at Claire. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come." "Your lawyer?" Claire said. Nathan rubbed his face. "It's complicated." Grace tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, is Grandma coming here?" Her voice cracked on the last word. Nathan's jaw tightened. He put his hand on Grace's head. "No, sweetheart. Grandma's not coming." "Are you sure?" Rose asked. She sounded afraid. "I'm sure." Lily looked at Claire. "Do you like our daddy?" Claire's breath caught. "Lily," Nathan said, his voice strained. "That's not. We need someone to like him," Lily said. She wasn't looking at her father anymore. Her eyes were locked on Claire, serious and desperate. "We need someone to stay." Nathan stood abruptly. "Girls, we're leaving." "No." Grace grabbed his arm. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Daddy, please." "We talked about this," Nathan said, but his voice was breaking. "We can't ask people to—" His phone buzzed. He pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen, and his face went pale. He silenced it without answering. It buzzed again. And again. Claire watched the girls. They flinched each time the phone vibrated. "Is someone trying to reach you?" she asked. Nathan didn't answer. He was staring at the phone like it was a grenade. Lily whispered, "Grandma's calling." "I don't want to go back there," Rose said, her voice rising. "Daddy, please." Nathan knelt down, pulled all three girls into his arms. "You're not going anywhere," he said. "I promise." But his hands were shaking. Claire should have left. This wasn't her problem. She didn't know these people. Whatever was happening here, it was none of her business. But she stayed in her seat. "What's going on?" she asked. Nathan didn't look at her. He was still holding the girls, his face buried against Lily's hair. "We're fine," he said. But his voice said otherwise. Claire leaned forward. "You're not fine." Nathan finally raised his head. His eyes were red-rimmed. "My mother-in-law is trying to take my daughters away from me." The words hung in the air. Claire's mouth went dry. "What?" "She's suing for custody," Nathan said. "The court hearing is in 3 weeks. My lawyer said if I had a stable family situation, it would help my case. So I let Sarah set this up. But it was stupid. I shouldn't have." He stood, pulling the girls with him. "I'm sorry I wasted your time." He turned toward the door. Grace twisted in his grip and looked back at Claire. "Please," she said. "We don't want to go live with Grandma." "Grace, she's mean," Grace said, louder now. "She makes us practice piano for 5 hours, and she says we have to be perfect. And I'm not perfect. And she—" "That's enough," Nathan said. But there was no anger in his voice, only defeat. Claire stood. "Wait." Nathan stopped. He didn't turn around. "Why is your mother-in-law doing this?" Claire asked. Nathan's shoulders sagged. "She thinks a single man can't raise 3 girls. She thinks they need a woman, someone stable, someone who can give them everything. And what do you think?" Nathan turned slowly. His eyes met Claire's. "I think I love them more than anything in this world," he said. "But maybe love isn't enough." Lily pulled a folded paper from her pocket. She walked over to Claire's table and set it down carefully. Then she ran back to her father. Claire looked at the paper. A drawing. Crayon on lined notebook paper. 4 stick figures holding hands. 3 small. 1 tall with dark hair. And 1 figure with long hair, standing beside them. Written at the bottom in uneven letters. "Our family." "We drew it for you," Lily said, "in case you wanted to stay." Claire's throat closed. Nathan's phone buzzed again. He looked at it, and something in his expression crumbled. "We have to go," he said. He ushered the girls toward the door. They went without protest, but all three kept looking back at Claire. Grace's lips moved. Claire couldn't hear the words, but she could read them. "Help us." The door closed behind them. Claire stood alone in the coffee shop, holding a child's drawing in her hands. Her coffee was cold. The light outside was fading. She should go home, forget this ever happened. But her hands wouldn't let go of the paper. She looked down at the 4 stick figures, the family that didn't exist yet. And before she could stop herself, she was running. She pushed through the door into the parking lot. Nathan was buckling the girls into an old sedan. His movements were mechanical, automatic. "Wait!" Claire shouted. He turned. She stopped 3 feet away from him, breathing hard. She didn't know what she was doing. This was insane. She didn't know these people. She didn't owe them anything. But she thought of Grace's voice. "She's mean." She thought of the bruise on Lily's arm. She thought of Nathan's face when he said, "Maybe love isn't enough." And she thought of herself, 3 years ago, being told she wasn't enough. "I'll help you," Claire said. Nathan stared at her. "What?" "Your custody case. I'll help." "You don't understand what you're—" "I understand," Claire said. She held up the drawing. "They need you. And you need help. So I'm offering." Nathan's hands fell to his sides. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then he shook his head slowly. "You don't know what you're getting into," he said. "Then tell me." He glanced at the girls in the car. They were watching through the window, their faces pressed against the glass. When he spoke again, his voice was barely audible. "If I lose this case, I lose them forever." Claire swallowed hard. "Then we won't lose." Nathan closed his eyes. His whole body seemed to sag. "Why would you do this?" he whispered. Claire looked at the drawing in her hands. 4 stick figures. A family that didn't exist. "Because someone once told me I wasn't good enough," she said, "and I've spent 3 years believing it. Maybe it's time I prove them wrong." She folded the paper carefully and put it in her pocket. Nathan opened his eyes. For the first time since she'd met him, something like hope flickered across his face. 3 weeks, he said. "The hearing is in 3 weeks." Claire nodded. "Then we'd better get started." Claire went home that night and couldn't sleep. The drawing lay on her nightstand. 4 stick figures. She kept looking at it in the dark, wondering what she'd just agreed to. 3 weeks, a custody battle, a family she didn't know. She thought about calling Sarah, asking for more details. But Sarah had only known Nathan through a mutual friend. A good man, she'd said. That was all. Claire picked up her phone, put it down. Picked it up again. At 2 in the morning, she texted Nathan. "We should meet. Talk about what happens next." The reply came instantly, like he hadn't been sleeping either. "Tomorrow? My place? The girls would like to see you." Claire stared at the message. This was moving fast, too fast. But she'd made a promise. "Send me the address." Nathan's house was small, a 1-story ranch on the east side of town, where the lawns were patchy and the paint on the fences peeled. Claire parked on the street and checked the address twice. The front door opened before she reached it. Lily stood there in pajamas. "You came." "I said I would," Claire said. Rose and Grace appeared behind their sister. All 3 were barefoot, their hair still messy from sleep even though it was nearly noon. "Girls, let her in," Nathan called from somewhere inside. Claire stepped through the door. The house was clean but sparse. A couch with faded cushions, a coffee table covered in coloring books and crayons, family photos on the wall, Nathan and the girls, always just the 4 of them. And one framed picture on a small table near the window, a woman with kind eyes and dark hair, holding 3 newborns, Nathan's wife, the girl's mother. "That's Mommy," Grace said softly, following Claire's gaze. "She's in heaven," Claire swallowed. "She was beautiful." "Daddy says we look like her," Lily said. Nathan emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Sorry, I was making lunch. You hungry?" "I'm fine," Claire said. "Sit. Please." Claire sat on the couch. The girls immediately climbed up beside her, one on each side, the third on the armrest. They didn't touch her, but they stayed close. Like they were afraid she might disappear. Nathan sat across from them in a worn armchair. He looked more exhausted than he had yesterday. Dark circles under his eyes. His shirt was the same one from the coffee shop. "Thank you for coming," he said. "You need to tell me everything," Claire said. "If I'm going to help, I need to know what we're up against." Nathan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "My wife died 5 years ago. Complications during childbirth. The girls were born 10 weeks early. Emily held on for 3 days after they were born. Then..." His voice broke. He cleared his throat. "Her mother, Margaret, blamed me. Said I should have insisted on a different hospital, better doctors, something. We haven't spoken much since the funeral." "Until now," Claire said. "Until now." Nathan rubbed his face. 6 months ago. Margaret started calling more, asking to see the girls. I thought she was just trying to reconnect, be a grandmother. I let her take them for weekends. Lily shifted beside Claire. That's when she started being mean. Nathan looked at his daughter. "Lily." "She was, Daddy," Lily said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were clenched in her lap. "She made us sit still for hours. She said we were too loud, too messy. She said we needed to learn to be proper young ladies." Rose spoke up. She said Daddy wasn't teaching us right. "And then 3 weeks ago," Nathan continued, "I got served with papers. Margaret filed for full custody. Her lawyer claims I'm unfit, that I work too much, that I can't provide stability, that the girls need a female role model." He looked at Claire. "She's not wrong about some of it. I do work long hours. I'm a construction foreman. I have to be on site early. The girls stay with a neighbor before school, and they're in after-school care until I pick them up at 6. It's not perfect, but it's what I can do." "That doesn't make you unfit," Claire said. "Tell that to the judge," Nathan said bitterly. "Margaret has money, resources, a big house in the suburbs. She's retired, so she can be home all the time. On paper, she can offer them more than I can. But they don't want to be with her." "No." Nathan's voice dropped. "They don't." Grace climbed down from the couch and walked over to her father. She leaned against his knee. "Grandma says we're broken because we don't have a mommy. She says we need to be fixed." Nathan's jaw tightened. He pulled Grace onto his lap and held her close. Claire felt something cold settle in her chest. "She said that to them?" "Not in those exact words," Nathan said, "but that's what they heard." Claire looked at the 3 girls, Lily's bruised arm, Rose's nervous fidgeting, Grace's trembling hands. "How did you get that bruise?" Claire asked, nodding toward Lily. Lily looked down. "I fell." "Lily," Nathan said gently. Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Grandma grabbed me. I was playing too loud, and she grabbed my arm and told me to stop acting like a wild animal." Nathan closed his eyes. Claire's hands curled into fists. "Does your lawyer know about this?" "I told him," Nathan said. "He said it's not enough. No witnesses. And Margaret would just say it was an accident. That Lily's exaggerating." He opened his eyes and looked at Claire. That's why he suggested the blind date. He thought if I could show the court I was trying to build a stable family environment, it might help. But I can't ask you to lie for me. I can't ask you to pretend we're something we're not. "Then don't," Claire said. Nathan frowned. "What?" "Don't pretend." Claire leaned forward. You need help. I can help. Not as a fake girlfriend, as someone who actually cares about what happens to these girls. You just met us. I know. Claire looked at the three faces watching her. But I also know what it's like to be told you're not enough, to have someone decide your worth based on things you can't control. The room went quiet. Rose tilted her head. What happened to you? Claire hesitated. She'd spent 3 years not talking about this, not thinking about it. But these girls deserved honesty. I can't have children, Claire said quietly. And someone I loved left me because of it. He said I was incomplete, that I couldn't give him a real family. She looked at Nathan. So I understand what it's like when someone tells you that love isn't enough. Lily reached over and took Claire's hand, her small fingers wrapped around Claire's palm. We think you're enough, Lily said. Claire's throat closed. Nathan stood up, still holding Grace. The hearing is in 2.5 weeks. Margaret's lawyer is aggressive. They're going to come at me hard. And if you're there, they'll come at you too. They'll dig into your life, find every weakness, use it against us. Let them, Claire said. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. Claire stood. I spent 3 years hiding, being ashamed, thinking I wasn't good enough. I'm done with that. So if standing up in that courtroom means someone finds out I'm not perfect, fine. These girls need their father, and I'm not going to walk away just because it gets hard. Nathan stared at her. Something flickered in his eyes. Disbelief, maybe. Or hope. Why are you really doing this? He asked. Claire looked at the 3 girls, at their father, at the small, imperfect home they'd built together. Because somebody should, she said. The next 10 days moved fast. Claire met with Nathan's lawyer, a tired-looking man named Robert, who seemed surprised she was actually going through with this. He explained the process, the questions she'd be asked, the scrutiny she'd face. They're going to make this personal, Robert warned. Margaret's lawyer will try to paint you as unstable, desperate. A stranger inserting herself into a family that's not hers. Let him try, Claire said. She spent afternoons at Nathan's house, getting to know the girls. They showed her their drawings, their schoolwork, the little routines of their life. Breakfast at 7, school from 8 to 3, aftercare until Nathan picked them up. Dinner together every night, no matter how tired he was. Homework at the kitchen table. Bedtime stories. It wasn't perfect. The house was small. Money was tight. Nathan worked 10-hour days and came home exhausted. But the girls were loved. Deeply, completely loved. And Claire started to feel something she hadn't felt in 3 years, like she belonged somewhere. Then the first threat came. Claire was at work, reviewing blueprints for a new project, when her boss called her into his office. We have a problem, he said. Claire sat down. What kind of problem? Your housing development. The investor is pulling out. The words didn't register at first. Claire blinked. What? Why? He didn't give a reason, just sent a formal withdrawal letter this morning. Her boss leaned back in his chair. Without his backing, the project's dead. We've already sunk 18 months into this, Claire. This is going to hurt the firm. Claire's mind raced. There has to be a reason. Investors don't just pull out without explanation. Apparently this one does. Claire left the office in a daze. She sat in her car and pulled out her phone, searched for the investor's name, found his company website, started reading. Then she saw it. A press release from 6 months ago. A partnership announcement. With Margaret's family company. Claire's hands went cold. She drove straight to Nathan's house. He opened the door, took one look at her face, and stepped aside. What happened? Your mother-in-law. Claire's voice shook. She's sabotaging me. Nathan's face went pale. What? Claire explained. The investor The connection, the timing. She's sending a message, Claire said. Stay away from your family, or she'll destroy my career. Nathan sank onto the couch. I'm so sorry. God, Claire, I'm so sorry. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Margaret has connections everywhere, money, influence. She can... He stopped, looked up at her. You should walk away, before this gets worse. No, Claire. No, she said again, firmer this time. That's what she wants. She wants me scared. She wants me gone. But I'm not leaving. You're going to lose your project. Then I lose it. Claire sat down beside him. I've spent 3 years letting fear make my decisions. I'm not doing that anymore. Nathan stared at her. You're serious? Completely? He shook his head slowly. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Claire said. For the first time in days, Nathan almost smiled. The second threat came 4 days later. Claire was driving home when her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Ms. Matthews? A woman's voice, cool and professional. Yes? My name is Patricia Hale. I'm an attorney representing Margaret Whitfield. I'm calling to offer you some advice. Claire's grip tightened on the steering wheel. I'm listening. My client is prepared to be very generous. If you agree to step away from Nathan Cross and his daughters, she's willing to ensure your housing project is reinstated. Full funding. No questions asked. Claire pulled over to the side of the road. You're bribing me. I'm offering you an opportunity to salvage your career, Patricia said. My client has no quarrel with you, Ms. Matthews. This is simply about what's best for her granddaughters. Surely you can understand that. What I understand, Claire said slowly, is that your client is using money and power to manipulate people, and I'm not interested. Think carefully before you refuse. Margaret has resources you can't imagine. If you continue down this path, things will get much more difficult for you. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. Patricia's voice hardened. You're a stranger trying to insert yourself into a custody case. The judge won't look kindly on that. And when Margaret's team is done investigating you, they'll find every mistake you've ever made. Every failed relationship, every moment of weakness. Is that really worth it for a man you barely know? Claire's hands were shaking, but her voice stayed steady. Tell your client I'm not going anywhere, she said. She hung up. Then she called Nathan. They just tried to buy me off, she said when he answered. There was a long silence on the other end. And? Nathan's voice was barely audible. And I told them to go to hell. Another silence. Then Nathan spoke, and his voice cracked. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Claire said. They're coming after us. Both of us. This is going to get ugly. I know. Are you ready for that? No, Nathan said honestly. But I don't have a choice. These are my daughters. Claire looked out at the street, at the ordinary houses with their ordinary lives. Then we fight, she said. 1 week before the hearing, everything escalated. Claire came home to find her apartment building surrounded by news vans. She parked a block away and walked up cautiously. A reporter spotted her. Ms. Matthews, is it true you're involved in the Whitfield custody case? Claire froze. Another reporter pushed forward. How long have you known Nathan Cross? Are you in a relationship with him? No comment, Claire said, pushing past them. Is it true you can't have children? How does that affect your involvement in this case? Claire stopped, turned slowly. The reporter held up a phone. Recording. You have a medical condition that prevents pregnancy, correct? Some people are saying that makes you unqualified to have any say in these girls' lives. What's your response? Claire's vision blurred. The street tilted. Someone had leaked her medical records. Margaret. Claire ran for her building, reporters shouting questions behind her. She made it inside, slammed the door, and leaned against it. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is just the beginning. Walk away now, or it gets worse. Claire slid down to the floor, her back against the door. Outside, she could hear the reporters still calling her name. This was what Margaret could do. This was her power. Claire pulled out her phone, called Nathan. "Are you watching the news?" she asked. "Yes." His voice was tight. "I'm so sorry, Claire. I never wanted—" "Stop apologizing," Claire said. She wiped her eyes. "They think this will make me quit. They think I'll be too ashamed to show my face in court. You don't have to do this. You can still—" "I'm not quitting," Claire said. The words came out hard. Final. They want me ashamed? Fine. Let them try. But I'm not hiding anymore, and I'm not letting them win. Nathan didn't respond for a moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was thick with emotion. "The hearing is in 7 days. I know. After that, either I keep my daughters, or I lose them forever." Claire closed her eyes. "Then we'd better make sure we win." She hung up and sat in the dark hallway, listening to the reporters outside. 7 days. Everything was about to come apart. Or come together. She couldn't tell which. The night before the hearing, Claire couldn't eat. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at the notes Robert had given her. Questions she might be asked, answers she should prepare. But the words blurred together. Her phone rang. "Nathan." "The girls want to talk to you," he said. Claire heard rustling, then Lily's voice came through. "Miss Claire, are you scared?" Claire closed her eyes. "A little bit." "Are you?" "Yes," Lily said. "But Daddy says you're brave. He says you're going to help us." "I'm going to try," Claire said. "That's all we need," Lily said. "Just you trying." The phone rustled again. Nathan came back on. "Get some sleep," he said. "Tomorrow's going to be hard." "I know." "Claire," his voice dropped. "Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you for everything." Claire hung up and sat in the dark. Tomorrow, she'd walk into a courtroom and fight for a family that wasn't hers. Tomorrow, everything would change. The courthouse was cold. Claire arrived 30 minutes early. Robert was already there, shuffling papers. Nathan sat on a bench outside the courtroom, wearing a borrowed suit that was slightly too big. He looked up when Claire approached. "You came." "Of course I came," Claire said. The courtroom doors opened. A woman stepped out. She was in her early 60s, perfectly dressed in a navy suit. Her hair was silver and styled. Her posture was rigid. Margaret Whitfield. Behind her came Patricia Hale, the lawyer who'd called Claire. Margaret's eyes landed on Claire. She looked her up and down once, then turned away, as if Claire wasn't worth her time. "All rise." They filed into the courtroom. The judge was a woman in her 50s, with tired eyes. "This is a hearing regarding custody of Lily, Rose, and Grace Cross," she said. "Let's begin." Patricia stood. "Your Honor, my client is seeking custody on the grounds that the current living situation is unstable. Mr. Cross works 50 to 60 hours per week. The children are left with strangers. He has no female presence in the home." She walked forward with a folder. "We have documentation showing missed parent-teacher conferences, late pickups, forgotten permission slips." Nathan's jaw tightened. The judge looked at Robert. "Response?" Robert stood. "Nathan Cross has been the sole caregiver since their birth. Yes, he works long hours. That's what single parents do. But he's never neglected his children. He's present. He loves them." "Love isn't always enough," Patricia said. "These girls need stability, supervision. Mrs. Whitfield can provide opportunities their father cannot." The judge looked at Margaret. "Mrs. Whitfield, please take the stand." Margaret sat with her back straight, hands folded. Patricia approached. "Can you describe your relationship with your granddaughters?" Margaret's voice was measured. "I love them very much. They're all I have left of my daughter. When Emily died, it broke my heart. I stayed away at first, thinking Nathan needed space, but now I see he can't manage alone. What did you observe during your visits? Margaret's expression tightened. They're sweet children, but wild, undisciplined, no table manners, no sense of proper behavior. Nathan lets them do whatever they want because he's too tired to parent them. Claire's hands clenched. Robert stood. Mrs. Whitfield, did you ever physically discipline them? No. You never grabbed Lily's arm hard enough to leave a bruise. Margaret's face flushed. That was an accident. She was running around being reckless. I took her arm to steady her. Or because you grabbed her too hard. I would never hurt my granddaughters, Margaret said, her voice rising. Everything I do is for their benefit. That's enough, the judge said. Step down. The judge looked at Nathan. Mr. Cross, please take the stand. Nathan walked forward, shoulders hunched. Patricia approached. How many hours do you work per week? Usually 50. Sometimes more. And during those hours, who watches your daughters? They're in school. After school, they go to a care program until I pick them up at 6. So they're in institutional care for 10 hours a day. They're supervised. Safe. Patricia's voice sharpened. But is that really a childhood? 10 hours with strangers? She held up a paper. Isn't it true you recently began a relationship with Ms. Claire Matthews? You went on a blind date exactly 1 week after being served custody papers. Your lawyer thought a girlfriend would make you look more stable, so you recruited a stranger to play house. That's not what happened, Nathan said. Then what is Ms. Matthews to you? Nathan looked at Claire. She's someone who cares. That's more than I can say for most people. The judge looked at Claire. Ms. Matthews, please take the stand. Claire's heart hammered as she walked forward. Patricia approached immediately. How long have you known Nathan Cross? 3 weeks, Claire said. 3 weeks, and you've inserted yourself into a custody battle. Why? Because the girls need their father. How would you know what they need? Patricia's voice was cold. You've never had children. You can't have children, correct? Due to a medical condition? That's irrelevant, Robert said, standing. It's completely relevant, Patricia said. This woman is incapable of having her own family, so she's trying to insert herself into someone else's. Isn't it true your ex-boyfriend left you because of your condition? That you've been alone for 3 years? And now you see an opportunity? Claire's vision blurred. Then why are you here? Patricia demanded. Claire looked at Nathan, at Margaret, sitting confident and cold. And something inside Claire broke open. Because I know what it's like to be told you're not enough, she said. Her voice steadied. My ex-boyfriend left because I couldn't give him children. He said I was incomplete, that I'd never have a real family. She looked at Margaret. And you're doing the same thing to Nathan, saying he's not enough because he's alone, because he doesn't fit your definition of perfect. Patricia opened her mouth, but Claire kept going. Those girls love their father. Yes, I've only known them 3 weeks. But I've seen more love in that little house than I saw in 3 years with someone who claimed to love me. Maybe I can't have children. Maybe I'm not perfect. But I know what real family looks like. It's not control or money. It's a man who comes home exhausted and still reads bedtime stories. It's 3 little girls who drew a picture of a family they wished they had. It's love. Imperfect. Messy. Human love. And that's worth fighting for. The courtroom was silent. Robert stood. I'd like to call the children to testify. The judge nodded. Bring them in. The girls entered quietly, holding hands. They wore matching dresses, faces pale. The judge spoke gently. Girls, I need to ask you some questions. You can answer honestly. Do you understand? All three nodded. Lily, where do you want to live? Lily looked at her father, then at her grandmother. With Daddy, she said. Her voice was small but clear. Why? Because he loves us. Her eyes filled with tears. Grandma wants us to be perfect, and we're not perfect. Daddy says we don't have to be perfect. He says we just have to be us. The judge looked at Rose. What about you? Rose's hands shook. I want to stay with Daddy. Grandma scares me. She grabbed Lily. She yelled at us. She said, if we didn't behave, we'd grow up wrong. She said Mommy would be ashamed of us. Margaret flinched. The judge turned to Grace. Grace? What do you want? Grace looked at Claire, then at her father. I want Miss Claire to be our mommy, she said, and I want to stay with Daddy, and I want Grandma to stop being mean. The courtroom was silent. The judge sat back. Mrs. Whitfield, I believe you love your granddaughters, but love that seeks to control isn't healthy. These children are not replacements for what you lost. They're individuals, and they've made their wishes very clear. Margaret's hands trembled. Mr. Cross, you're far from perfect. You work too much. You're stretched thin. But your daughters love you. They feel safe with you. And that matters more than money or a big house. She looked down at her notes. Custody will remain with Nathan Cross. Mrs. Whitfield, you are granted visitation rights. 1 weekend per month, supervised for the first 6 months. She brought down her gavel. This hearing is concluded. Outside the courtroom, Nathan collapsed onto a bench. The girls swarmed him, crying and holding on. He wrapped his arms around all three and buried his face in their hair. Claire stood a few feet away, giving them space. Margaret emerged from the courtroom. She stood alone, looking smaller somehow. Older. She walked over to Claire. You were right, Margaret said quietly. What you said about control. She looked at the girls. I just wanted them to have everything Emily didn't get to give them. I thought if I could make them perfect, it would mean she didn't die for nothing. Claire's throat tightened. She didn't die for nothing. She gave them life, and she gave them a father who loves them. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. I've been so angry, for 5 years, at Nathan, at God, at the world. I blamed him for not saving her, but it wasn't his fault. They need you, Claire said, not as someone trying to fix them, just as their grandmother. Can you do that? Margaret nodded. She walked over to Nathan. The girls tensed. I'm sorry, Margaret said. Her voice broke. I'm so sorry. Nathan stood. He put a hand on her shoulder. I know what you wanted. Margaret broke down. She reached for the girls, and after a moment, they let her hug them. I'll be better, Margaret whispered. I promise. 6 months later. Claire stood in Nathan's kitchen, washing dishes. The house looked different now. Brighter. New curtains. Fresh paint. Claire's drawings pinned to the refrigerator alongside the girls' artwork. The housing project had been resurrected. A new investor had come forward after reading about the custody battle. The project was scheduled to break ground in 2 months. The front door opened. Nathan and the girls came in with grocery bags. We got ice cream, Grace announced. Lily set a bag on the counter. Grandma's coming for dinner tomorrow. Is that okay? Of course, Claire said. Margaret had kept her promise. She visited once a month, learning to be a grandmother instead of a guard. It wasn't perfect, but it was healing. Nathan came up behind Claire, wrapped his arms around her waist. How was your day? Good, Claire said, leaning back against him. Yours? Better now. The girls ran off, giggling. Nathan turned Claire around. I got something for you. He pulled out a small box. Inside was a key. Simple. Silver. It's to the house, Nathan said. The girls asked when you're moving in, and I realized I've been asking myself the same thing. He looked at her. There's a place for you here. Whenever you're ready. Claire looked at the key. I can't have children. That's never going to change. I know, Nathan said, but you already have 3 daughters who love you. Isn't that enough? Claire thought about the coffee shop. 3 little girls saying their daddy was sorry he was late. A drawing of a family that didn't exist yet. Except, now it did. Yes, Claire said. She took the key. It's more than enough. Nathan kissed her forehead. I love you. I love you too. From the bedroom, Grace called out. Miss Claire, can you help us with homework? Claire smiled. I'll be right there. She looked at the key in her hand. Small, simple. But it opened something bigger than a door. It opened a future she'd stopped believing in. A family she'd stopped hoping for. A home. She put the key in her pocket and walked toward the sound of children's voices. And for the first time in 3 years, she felt complete. 1 year later, Claire stood in a simple white dress. It wasn't a big wedding, just family. Margaret sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face. 3 little girls in lavender dresses walked down the aisle carrying flowers. At the altar, Nathan waited. Ready? He whispered. Claire looked at the girls, at Margaret, at her family. I've been ready since the day I ran after you in a parking lot, she said. They said their vows. They kissed. And when they turned, the girls crashed into them, wrapping their arms around both. We're a real family now, Lily said. We always were, Claire said, pulling them close. Later, Margaret stood by a window. Thank you for coming, Claire said. Margaret looked at the girls dancing with their father. Thank you for showing me what Emily would have wanted, for them to be happy. Just happy. She touched Claire's hand. My daughter would have liked you. Across the room, Nathan called to Claire. The girls were pulling him toward the dance floor. She went to her family, her husband, her daughters. And as she danced with the 4 people she loved most, she thought about the mother who'd given these girls life. Thank you, Claire thought. The song ended. The girls hugged her tight. Love wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, about staying, about choosing each other. Every single day. Sometimes, the family you're meant to have isn't the one you expected. It's the one that finds you when you're brave enough to stop hiding. The one that says, you're enough, exactly as you are. The one that makes you whole.